back with Off the Desk. Tom and Steve here. Excited for another episode, Tom. What are we getting into today?
Mate, some different kind of episodes today, I think. Yeah, I think we nailed the previous one. Good to, lay the land, have a chat, see what's going on, see what the plans are. This one we're going to talk a little bit about finance because we just can't help ourselves. I think there's been some awesome updates with the 5% deposit scheme, first home owners deposit scheme, which is really exciting. So we've got to talk about that because that's awesome for the market and it has some flow-on effects, cause and effect and all that, like we were just speaking about. And then we've got to talk about footy. Yeah, it's very topical at the moment. The Cheese is in some trouble, which by the time this comes out, things might be updated. But the Cheese is, some allegations around him, Brendan Smith, for those playing at home. And I think we should even talk a little bit about how this sort of punishment might affect some previous punishments from NRL boys and
how they compare. Yeah. So you're a diehard Broncos man, which will come out more and more. I mean, I'm a fan, but I can't compare to yourself. We've got one in the room who's a Dragon supporter, poor man, our producer. Anyway, he's making his way through. Let's kick off 5% deposit started. You're the first home buyer. Expert.
Yep.
Let's dive into it. What's changed?
Self-proclaimed.
Self-proclaimed. You are 100.
Expert.
Yes. Yep. In comparison to the two of us, I guess.
Yes. No doubt. So, look, for those playing at home, just keep it real basic. If you haven't owned a property before, you're a first home buyer, right? There are some nuances. If you haven't owned a property in the last 10 years, you're eligible for some things, which actually is this 5% scheme. If you haven't owned a property for 10 years. So, if you sold it, 10 years goes by and now you're buying again, you technically could be eligible for some things. So think about that if you're out there. But mainly we're talking about people that haven't owned a property before. In general, banks want you to have a 20% deposit. What that 20% deposit actually looks like depends on the purchase price. So hypothetically, if you got a 500 grand purchase price, the banks want you to have 100 grand to contribute towards that purchase price, which is pretty wild to, save 100 grand in this market. I think I don't know. It's the first home buyers that are at uni.
Good luck,
yeah. Good luck. G's, yeah.
Well, it's doable, but geez, you'd be hustling. So, yeah. And you take it from the bank's perspective, 400 grand against a 500 grand property. Banks are all about risk. Try and put yourself in the bank's lens. That's 100,000 of room for selling costs, decrease in value. So if everything goes wrong, they can sell your property and recover their loan.
Yeah,
that's where exactly right. That's where that difference comes from. That's why they need the gap. So try and put yourself in that lender's perspective. Even though banks can be frustrating, no, they can't be. But with context, now you appreciate where the banks are coming from.
I think banks make enough money.
They definitely are.
$1 billion profit.
They're not short on profit, that's for sure. But as all of us have superannuation funds, we're all shareholders in banks, aren't we?
I know.
We could tangent here for a while about the need for banks to be highly profitable for our economy.
Let me just complain about banks for a little bit.
Complain away. Back to your 5%.
Thank you. So 20% deposit is what they usually want, right? And when I say usually, it's because there are some nuances which we can get into all the detail, or at another time, whatever that might be, where you can require a 10% deposit for certain professions, where you can not avoid the extra fees and charges. And then for the first home buyers, as long as you hit certain metrics, you actually can be eligible for just a 5% deposit, which on a 500 grand property is only 25 grand. Compared to 100 grand.
Massive difference.
Huge difference, right? And on top of that, you can have all sorts of different waivers, which we'll talk about in a sec. The extra fees and charges I just referred to quickly, it's called Lender's Mortgage Insurance, or LMI as it's known as in our industry. Now, what that is if you have less than a 20% deposit and you're not eligible for any of the other awesome whiz-bang features and schemes, whiz-bang. It's a bit old.
I like it. Keep it going.
Thank you. Then you are going to get charged Lender's Mortgage Insurance, or LMI, if you have less than 20% deposit. The reason is because banks deem you as a risk, right? As a client with less than 20% deposit, there could be a risk they can't make up all of their debt if they were to sell your property if you didn't pay it.
That speed of recovery, like you spoke about.
Correct.
So they want something to cover them.
Yes.
For that risk.
And that's an insurance policy, which is Lender's Mortgage Insurance, which is where they actually take insurance out with a big insurance company. And then that premium that the bank gets charged just gets on charged to you as the client, which can be quite sizable. I've seen LMI from 20 grand to start almost all the way up to 50, 60 grand. That's a huge fee that you can get charged. The only positive about it, well, I guess there's two positives about it. One is that you can buy the property now without having 20% deposit. I think people like that because that's super, important. If you really want to buy that property and you think it's going to continue to go up in value and blah, blah, blah. There's heaps of benefits there rather than trying to save all that 20%. The other one is it gets added to the loan. So you're not actually paying it. out of your own pocket up front, your loan goes from 400 grand to 420 in theory if you had a 20 grand LMI cost. So that's LMI, and that's why this 5% deposit scheme is so awesome. And I felt like I had to lay the land a little bit there.
I like it, yeah. And like the government realised that as well, didn't they? So we've had this 5% scheme in for a while, and we're trying to get first home buyers into the market, and the government wisely realised that saving a deposit's difficult. And you talked about a few of those other things, like there's family guarantees, there's a whole bunch of other little options that we can discuss with clients directly if they've got that sort of scenario. But the game changer was the ability for the government to provide that guarantee. So instead of the bank taking out that lender's mortgage insurance policy, the government stood in and like, we'll be that insurance policy for you by guaranteeing the 15%. I realise I did quotations and not everyone's watching the video, so quotations were included there for those listening. So they then guaranteed that 15%. So if there's a shortfall, and it would be so fascinating to understand the default rate's probably not what everyone's interested in here, but maybe someone is, that how often the government's had to reach in their pocket for that, because we've been in a property growth cycle that's astronomical as this scheme's been in place. So it's not likely that there's been too many shortfalls if you thought about it
not often.
From going back perspective. So the 5% scheme's probably been has been wildly successful, and it's getting people into the market, and there's probably next to no true exposure from a government perspective.
I reckon they probably haven't had to put in their pocket
it'd be fascinating to hear how many times they've reached in for it. So
maybe in the apartment area of Melbourne for the last 12 months.
But again, it's probably been flat, so they're still probably covering.
So the updates, right? So before October 1st, from now still, October 1st is when things are changing, is that as a couple, you have to earn under $200,000, and that has to be on your tax return or your notice of assessment from the previous financial year. So whatever the previous financial year is, so we're in August at the moment, end of August, it means from the 30 June in 2025, like the June a couple months ago, that previous tax return on your notice of assessment, which is that one page, a document you get once you've lodged your tax, and it comes back from the ATO saying, hey, we've assessed your details, here's your taxable income, here's all the details, and that box down the bottom right shows you your refund if you're lucky, or if you've got to pay some tax, it's a little debit, it's a little cost, which everyone knows that notice assessment. They don't know what it's called, but everyone knows that because they're excited to see if they've won the raffle, or if they're going to get some money back, or if they are going to be sad because they've got to pay.
You've got to pay costs. So
that's the document that banks care about. And on the top left here, it says taxable income. Whatever that number is, that is what they use. So they don't care about how much you're currently getting paid, how much you did get paid, or anything like that about your pay slips. It's purely just that taxable income number. As a couple, under 200,000, you put your two NOAs together, your notice assessments together. It's under $200,000 is how much you have to earn as a couple, and then as a single is $125,000 for an NOA to be eligible. Now again, you have to be a PR or a citizen. You have to it has to be your first home, or with 10 years sort of thing that I spoke about earlier. There is a couple of extra nuanced eligibility things. So of course, reach out to your expert broker or two expert brokers right here.
Property price hurdles, all these other things, but. Now it's changing.
It's changing massively.
1 October 2025, in case someone's listening back to this in the future.
Oh, very good. What if they're listening to it in 26 or something? They'll
they'll be like, what happened? Yeah, I knew about this. So, now they'll be really well educated on how we got here and where it comes from and all the thinking behind it. So what's changing?
From 1st of October, there's no income cap, right? So that's awesome. So they don't give a... Oh, no, I keep swearing. I'm sorry.
I'm just glad you spent 5 minutes explaining what a notice of assessment is that's now not worth... not worth understanding because there's no income cap. But now everyone knows what a notice of assessment document is for the next month that they need it for. From here onwards, don't worry about your notice of assessment.
But if you're chatting to your mate at the barbecue and you want to talk about tax, and you can go, the notice of assessment document, blah, blah, blah.
Taxable income. We have educated people. Well done. Play on.
You're welcome, people at home. So no income cap, which is really exciting. So no, you don't need to worry about the notice assessment anymore. As a single, you can be earning 200, 300, 400, and they're all good with it, right? Which is really awesome because some of those income caps were restricting, especially the couples. If you're $201,000 as it stands today, then you are not eligible. It doesn't matter if you're thereabouts. It's the exact dollar. So from October 1st, no income cap. Australia-wide, happy days. Let's go. The other update is it depends on where you're located. So city, metro areas in Queensland versus regional areas in Queensland is different. Same with New South Wales, Victoria, and all the other states that are super important to me that I can't be bothered naming.
And territories,
And territories, sure. I always forget that, because there's 7 or 8 or one of those. Is that important?
We'll do a geography lesson maybe next, but continue.
I need that lesson.
Yeah.
So in Queensland, we're based in Brizzy, so that's where we think a lot of our market will be. Hopefully, we get lots of Eastern Seaboard, but it goes from 700
and Western Seaboard
and Western Seaboard,
South Australia, Northern Territory, Tasmania, just in case they don't feel like they're a part of the. We're not discriminatory. Happy to help people all over Australia.
Even in Tassie?
They're still
because that's part of Australia.
Part of Australia. Look, even if you're overseas and you've got some link to us, don't worry, we'll solve it. We'll help you out.
Yeah, but to get this scheme, if you're overseas, you've got to be or a citizen.
A citizen. Anyway. So as long as you're a citizen, we could work that through with you. So
reach out.
We've got to owner occupied, so technically you'd have to be coming back to get the scheme. Probably another important aspect.
That is important. So to be eligible for the scheme, it has to be an owner occupied purchase. Yeah, that's a good point.
That's right.
So you've got to live in there, right?
So it can't be an investment. You've got to live in there.
The government don't want you building wealth. They don't want you taking advantage of things to buy investment properties, et cetera, et cetera. It's got to be to help housing, right? And that's their whole idea is like people are complaining about they can't afford their first home. So let's help them afford it, but let's not help them grow their wealth. Let's help them get into housing, get into a property themselves.
I mean, meet that fundamental need, which is growing wealth in a great aspect. Yep, by property, purchasing property grows wealth greatly. But yes, you don't want, their intention isn't for you to build an investment portfolio on the back of government support, in a sense. Yeah, once you've got the first leg in, it's up to you to keep building from there.
Yes, which is very possible and something we can assist with.
Hell yeah.
But the current property cap is $700,000 in metro and $550 in regional, I think.
For Queensland.
That. Yeah, for Queensland. And that is moving to $1 million in Metro Queensland, which is a huge difference from $700,000 to $1 million. The only unfortunate thing with that move is that stamp duty doesn't move with it. So at the moment, stamp duty is a government or a state-based tax for when you buy a property, which can be pretty expensive. You know, for a $700,000 property, it's around $15,000 of a fee you have to pay. So if you do go between $700,000 and $1 million as a first home buyer, you will be still paying stamp duty on that, which hurts a little bit. They only recently moved, maybe 18 months, 2 years ago, they moved from $500,000 to $700,000. So we probably don't expect too much of a move from the state government because that's where they earn a lot of their revenue. But moving the 5% deposit from $700,000 to $1 million in Metro Queensland is awesome. And it's huge movement in that market. And there'll be a flow-on effect. Yeah. But what do you think about that?
Sydney.
1.5 million
in Sydney.
Thank you, Will. Yeah, 1.5 million in Sydney. So that's the top bucket because obviously property, it's always had a tiering approach because the goal was getting closer to that median house price. That was where the government was trying to base it. So
which I think
we led it at 700. But you're right, stamp duty, state-based, one of the very few state-based taxes, and the states can't generate much of their own revenue. They're always going to the federal government task for revenue. So we don't anticipate that one will move too quickly, but it might. They've just moved it. That's a Queensland base. So yeah, Queensland up to 700, no stamp duty, 700 to 800. This is just for first home buyers. There's a tiering.
Like a prorated.
It's not as hurtful. 800 to onwards, then you just get the owner occupied concession, but it's not massive from a Queensland perspective. Every other state's slightly different. We won't list them all off, but you can run through those in a feasibility approach with someone, depending where they're buying.
Yeah.
But
we could probably put a link in the show notes of stamp duty costs and stuff.
In the show notes. Look out for it. Yeah, we'll work that out.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Slap that in there.
Beautiful. Thanks, Will. So the big difference though, now we're going to have this demand shift. That's the kind of that's the underlying part. So now we go from
the overthinkers,
which we love to overthink. So we've gone from 700 being this sweet point where you could get first home guarantee scheme. You could actually get the first home guarantee, first home grant as well if you're building brand new. So 30,000 for Queensland. That's 750, but again, if you're hitting 700, you're hitting all three of these beauties.
Just confirm what that is. Yeah, that's just if you build or
if you build brand new or you buy a brand new property that's never been lived in, you can qualify for that 30,000 first home grant.
First home owner grant.
First home owner grant. I knew I'd get it wrong, whichever way. Which has been around forever, but they've shifted it to brand new. So it used to be any first home you'd get $7,000, $14,000. It's been through heaps of iterations, but there wasn't enough new builds going on, so government shifted it to solely new builds now. So you can buy land, build your own home, qualify, or you can buy a completed product never been lived in. So that might suit nicely apartments, townhouses for those price points. So 700 was that sweet spot. Now we've only really lifted one of them in Queensland. So there's still going to be a demand for 7 to $1 million now, more of a demand because there'll be more people in that market, like fundamentals of supply and demand. If the supply doesn't shift, there's now more of a demand. So prices will go potentially will increase in those markets there. But the flip side, maybe it pulls people out of that sub 700 market to go into the higher market. So does the sub 700 market now have less demand, and then there's less price pressure, or there's just too much price pressure anyway? So now that'll just get consumed. Interest rates going down, more price pressure. We come into spring, more people in the market, more pressure. Yeah. What does that all mean?
Yeah, lots, I think. I think the simple fact of more activity is a positive in the market overall, but I am a bit aware of the lack of stock. And that's just a buzz term, but I did quotations.
Man, I was about to say.
The lack of stock, I think, in the market, especially in SEQ where we're based, has been a problem over winter. Really, not something to be too concerned about, but there hasn't been as much activity that we like to see in the market. So it leading into spring is positive, but with this change as well, I think is a great thing. And of course, there's going to be some negative side effects of this change of scheme. But overall, like if you're a first home buyer and you go, man, 700 is just not enough, like get excited because things are going to change, things are going to happen in this market really quickly. Of course, if you're in Queensland, Brisbane area, 700, yeah. If you're in a different area.
Are different. And again, like you have to be, like you still have to have like relatively good earnings. So like it's a good,
correct.
Don't go property shopping without talking to your broker first to work out what you can afford from a bank perspective, but also what you can afford from a personal perspective. So like 2 tests there, we can help what the bank looks like. Are you happy with this month, like this amount of money coming out of your bank account, monthly, fortnightly, weekly, whatever suits your budget? Like that's a huge test. So even though we talk about now, hey, you might be able to get $1 million with 5% deposit, 50 grand plus stamp duty costs, etc.
What's a mortgage going to cost you? $950.
A fair amount.
That's like worst case, right? I might just quickly bring that up. Do you want to keep talking?
Should we just pause and wait for you to watch? So I think that's the key part. So talk to your broker first because then you'll know what market you're playing in, how much it is a month. I think it does open up more markets, so it'll be interesting to see if prices move quickly. I know there's a lot of people excited who are trying to get their properties when they, like developers brought into market for that 700 grand end product, which now will potentially increase a little bit to that end products being closer to $1 million. So I think it'll hopefully drive more stock into those levels because now it makes sense for developers.
And we were talking about that, like they were talking about it for ages that it might change January 1st, but nothing was still confirmed. They brought it forward. So I think developers were already probably getting ready in that sort of scheme area, but now I reckon they're like, let's go. And that, unfortunately development takes time with DA and all sorts of different stuff, where they got to dig and not dig and build and not build, you know how it is, man.
I do, I can see you've done a lot of development finance.
Yes, thank you, that's what I do. But I just put up the $950,000 mortgage, which is what it would be if you borrowed 95% or had a 5% deposit for $1 million property. And that monthly repayment is $5,400 circa, give or take. That's based on a 5.5% interest rate, which, it could depend on what you're looking at, and that's a 30-year loan. So make sure you're ready for that sort of loan repayment because, as you said, even if you can save 50 grand, it doesn't mean you can buy $1 million house.
Yeah,
because that's a lot of money.
I mean,
I don't know how much you got to be earning to meet those payments comfortably. Plus, live. You want to go buy that coffee. You want to go on that holiday. You want to have that car. No, that's a sizable amount of income.
It is, and like for someone with relatively standard living expenses, we do like a 4 times loose test.
Super loose
test. Like, if I could put asterisks next to every word I'd say, I'd put them in now, but 4 times super loose. So 250 as a couple might get you that $1 million property purchase with with a 5% deposit. You'd still have to have stamp duty saved up for that level of purchase, of course, as well. So it's 50 grand plus stamp duty, plus a bit of room for conveyancing. Please don't leave yourself with nothing because when it comes to settlement, there's always little adjustments. So we build all of that into ours. And again, like sometimes that's what is different between different brokers. We're trying to build in, make sure when you do settle, there's enough for you to pay for a removalist truck. Like there's got to be a little bit left over. There's always little incidental costs or the rate bill lands on day one. So you want to have some buffer when you move into a house, especially first home, because there's always something. So
and like first home buyers often don't have the furniture and everything else they need. So you might be sitting on the ground eating baked beans going, how good's this first home?
How good's this? Couple of camp chairs.
But maybe it's not that good.
Couple of camp chairs in your $1 million home. So you've got to get the balance right. And like stretching yourself when you're young is often how, like, if you talk to any boomer, they'll say that's how they did it. Like stretching yourself when you're young is important, but now there's a lot of overlays from the banks to sort of ensure you can afford it. But even saying that, you need to know you can afford it yourself. Like, you can't outsource that requirement. So we do have a lot of conversations with people who are like, can I afford this loan? And like, we can show you from a bank's perspective, from a lending perspective, how they've assessed to say you can afford it. But you still personally need to be comfortable when you're signing on that loan document.
And we can help you with your own budget and how much your own position looks like. But you've got to want to make those repayments. You've got to be in that mindset, like, hey, this is my life now.
Yes,
because that debt ain't going anywhere.
It's not.
And you've got to have that willing nature to be like, all right, $5,000 a month, I'm doing it. Like, I can do that.
Yeah.
And if you're nervous about that, please don't borrow that much.
Don't borrow that much. Go a bit lower. And like, we talk about that, like, Australians typically pay their mortgages first. Like, you compare our mindset to the States where they'll leave their keys in the letterbox. We just don't do that. Like, Australians pay their mortgages. So when you're coming in, like, you bunker down, you pay that mortgage. Ideally, you don't bunker down. Maybe you just buy something for a little bit less where you can still live that.
Where's the fun in that?
Where's the fun in that? Now, I get to the tilt and still live the lifestyle maybe, but I think there's definitely a bit of a balance in that. Like, overall, excited. Labor government said they'd do this. They've done it quickly. I think that's what shows, having the power either side. Absolute landslide. Probably don't need to have a political debate here, but
no.
I think having a landslide, getting in power, doing something for first home buyers is awesome. Ideally, the stamp duty move, I'm remiss of us not to say Queensland stamp duty, there's no stamp duty if it's a brand new build or a first lived in. So if you qualify for that first home owner grant,
is it?
There's no stamp duty for a brand new build. Yeah, we'll bring it up and just double check that.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think that's
fully. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, put it in. To be confirmed.
Is that from here on?
Yeah.
Oh,
brand new.
Jeez, we're gonna cut that out if I don't know that.
Stamp duty.
Because that rules my credibility.
So we'll get back in from now. As we were saying.
Yeah, cool. Very good. All right, well, that's that. That's very exciting in our world. Probably not as exciting for everyone else, but like, we're pumped about that.
I think so. If you're new, like, first home buyer, why wouldn't you be excited to have more options? So chat to your broker about how much you can afford to borrow. That's always step one. Don't go to open. You can go open homes, do a bit of window shopping if you really want to, but work out what you can afford. Start there. Talk to your broker. They'll tell you what you can or can't afford.
And you got a budget to work on.
Budget. Yeah. Then you can go. Then you can punch that into realestate.com or Domain, because we can't favour any site probably here.
Yeah.
But everyone will probably just use realestate.com, and then they'll help you, guide your budget from there, set your open homes. It's actually like a lot of fun. That process is a lot of fun. Make it a lot of fun. Yeah, it's stressful. You're doing a big decision, but a lot of fun. Just know your budget.
I'm on realestate.com every day.
I know you are. Yeah. Working in between or something?
Yeah, a little bit of work. Yeah. It is work, man. I know
it is true.
Market, just the high end that I like to look at. Yeah.
100%.
One day. Cool. All right, let's change the pace. So that's awesome. Happy days. Finance we could talk about forever. Another subject that's very much on my heart is the Broncos and the NRL as a whole. So there's been some news around that. I mean, like, let's just pull back firstly. Broncos are going to win the premiership this year, of course.
We'll see how this ages, depending on when it comes out. To see.
We're currently sitting fifth. I think we'll make the top four. We're going to win both our next clashes.
Wow. Mate, Walshy is on. So I think Ben Hunt slotted in really nicely at 7. It's just a really complete. Billy at 6, who'd known. There's a really sweet team there. Of course, the rest of the core's doing well.
I think Broncos doing some awesome things, and Stags is making it rain, and it's a very exciting time to be a Broncos fan, I reckon. Like, considering the season we've had with Madge and the new the changes and they're not going to go well, and we had a good start of the season, then a really bad middle season, and now we're coming back strong. I mean, Reynolds is on the extended bench this week, so he might come back, which will change the dynamic. They're talking about like keeping Ben Hunt in the half somehow, because I think his verbal leadership on the field has been noticeable, whereas I think Reynolds sort of leads a bit more by actions and doesn't yell at people as much. And sometimes Walsh needs a little.
You gotta yell. Well, and Billy's our best 9 probably, so like you'd put Billy back to 9.
Yeah.
Because every time he comes on, the game changes. So maybe he should play more.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm no coach.
He's been a great 6.
He's been fantastic. Oh, he was a great 6 too, but fantastic in the 9 position. I think our best.
Yeah. So we're gonna win anyway. So that's very exciting.
Cool.
It'd be sucky to be a Dragons fan if you are one.
Tough hit out for the Dragons.
Yeah.
But
Sorry, Will.
My question to you is, could you take another heartbreak? So I'm happy missing the finals, but I don't have to watch my team lose 2 grand finals that they should have definitely won.
You're not talking about 2023,
I'm talking about
Cleary, 17 minutes of magic.
And 2015.
And the Cowboys, the Cowboys hit out hurt still. Yeah, well, look, 2006, it's been a long stint between drinks for a team that prior to that was winning what felt like every second year.
Yeah.
So It has been a long hit out for the Broncos. Can we take out another heartbreak? No. Will we? Probably. So anyway, time will tell. It'll hurt again, I think. But it's a weird competition this year because of how much people have moved around. And like, who'd have thought Raiders, Bulldogs, Warriors would make the top 4? Like, obviously the Storm.
Andrew Boss last week and the most remarkable rugby league season ever.
It really has been. And I think Tigers moving to the middle pack as well is kind of exciting. So, like, Tigers, I think you were saying, could make 9, which is just crazy to think from where the Tigers have come from. So, probably one of the most mixed up years. But Melbourne Panthers still in the top mix, of course.
Yeah, I mean, they controversially have rested 16 players this weekend. Which is like crazy. So they've behind the scenes they've given up on the top 4.
Yeah,
because they're currently coming 7th.
Right.
So Sharks and Bronx are in 5 and 6.
And they're saying we don't need a home ground to win. We're just fired up for that first round.
It's messing with people. You know, people are like, it's such a good idea, and then it's like, but how can you do that? You're fielding a New South Wales Cup side, and they're going to be ready to go, and it's like.
I don't know about any team in that top 8, but personally, I would not want to face the Panthers first week.
Agreed.
I would really prefer to fall any other side of facing the Panthers first week.
I mean, if they finish 5th or 6th, like, sorry to those 7 and 8 teams.
I think whoever has to play them is going to be a really tough first hit out. Hopefully, they knock them out, and then the dynasty's over. You know, but I don't think they will. Yeah, Panthers will be ready. So massive week. We will be terribly sad. Yeah, thanks, Will, for reminding us of those previous experiences. We're due one though, I think.
Yeah,
and geez, it'd be special to be back. If we finish top 4, I think it's a really special year. So I think Warriors might hang on, but we'll see.
I don't know if they will. Yeah, I think if we finish 4th, then we're a real chance of winning it this year because we haven't played 80 minutes of footy all year. And us at our best, I don't think anyone can run with us. Yeah, like maybe Storm and Panthers, like maybe.
It'll be the last game of the season against the Storm will be the test, won't it?
Yes.
It'll be really, where are the Broncos? But again, the Storm might rest quite a bit. So
they've rested a few this weekend.
Right.
So
and the Broncos might.
They love beating the Bronx.
Yeah. And it's a good tune-up game before finals for both teams. Yeah. To be like, where are we for the finals? So
a lot of faith in Reynolds' knees that don't work.
We just need it for a few more games. Reno, come on, strap him up, mate.
I don't know. I think he's played a fair chunk of games this year, but he is known to be the class man. Yeah, right. Yeah. Look, I mean, I think like we've proved the last 2 weeks, with or without Reynolds, Benny Hunt's got our back. Which, coming from 2015 grand final, and so I didn't think I'd say that ever again.
And you couldn't have said that in previous seasons because every time Reynolds wasn't playing, we got smashed. So it was Hunt's. Having a spare, turns out having like a world-class spare 350 games 7 is kind of super valuable. So everyone who was thinking like umming and ahhing with that signing, like the proof's in there now that's
I
probably
don't think there was that many umming and ahhing.
No, maybe I was like, what's he doing?
Yeah.
But again, like we knew that we'd improve on whatever the Dragons were doing with him. So
who's playing in the grand final this year? If you're completely honest, who plays in it and who wins it? Take away your bias.
I don't have a bias.
The bookmakers have Melbourne at even money, 2-1.
Yeah. I think Melbourne
Panthers
are in
there.
there.
Out to $6 or something.
Yeah. I reckon Panthers don't make it. Yeah, I think the dream's over.
Yeah.
Panthers.
It's Melbourne and?
I think it's Melbourne and the Broncos is the absolute dream hope.
It's going to happen. No Sydney team. I love that.
I think otherwise Canberra sitting on top, I think Ricky will have them pretty ready.
Yeah.
And it was a close round against the Panthers, but I think they'll be ready. So
the only knock on the Raiders is their lack of finals experience. Their spine is made up of young kids, other than Fogarty. But Fogarty played at the Titans forever, so he hasn't got much. Finals experience. So I think like if he can keep him up for the final series, Ricky's exceptional in what he does, but I think they will be there. I think if I had to put a third in there, it would be Raiders.
Yeah, you say that the minor premier is going to be a dark horse.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? And that sums up the competition for this year, that the minor premiers.
I think Storm Broncos, and I think Broncos will win.
I know, but you can't. We're supposed to be non-biased. Be non-biased, impossible. So, I think either way, like the finals is going to be so exciting because you feel like any game any team can win.
Yeah.
Which has been a lot of the season so far when we had like bottom of the table beating top of the table.
Yeah.
Like it's been such a weird year.
Yeah.
In compared to other years where it was normally like this little crop of top 4 to top 8 was so clear so early. So good, exciting footy.
It's been awesome.
and your tipping has been going really well. Like everyone's really supportive on TikTok of how well your tipping's going. So
Well, I think I'm going dead last in the boys comp and close to that.
you
in
are
the
close to
family comp.
last. I think the only one who is below you on that tipping comp is your lovely wife, who just tips on colours. So
Yeah.
not a whole lot to compare.
Well, she's
And
a fan
it's
of.
tight race still.
Yeah, it is.
It is, believe it or not, it's a tight race. So.
She's a fan of Christmas, so South naturally green and red.
Yes.
They haven't had a good year.
They have not had a good year, yeah.
Grace hasn't had a good year.
And I've sort of tried to come towards you because I've tipped Tigers every game, which has not been a great strategy for much of the year. But
yeah. Lately they're going all right.
normally I talk about, we got 10 people in our family comp. There's really just 8 because you and Grace
Oh, yeah.
sort of sit out of that. So the rest of us are in the mix. So
Yeah.
anyway, but good support for
I don't know
your...
why. Like, I know more about NRL than anyone I know.
I think you tip the outsiders every time. This year's been a hard year of tipping, I think, for everyone, but
Oh, thanks, man.
not, well, you in particular. Yeah. But anyway, keep going. I think the videos are super popular. So
Yeah. You'll still hear my opinions whether you want them or not.
I think they want them because
Yeah.
they want to just give you some gentle feedback on room
Yeah,
to
well,
improve or areas that
if
you might
you
want
wanna laugh, read some
reconsider.
comments of my
read
TikTok
read the
tips.
comment of Tom's ticks. They're great.
So the controversy. So Cheese has got allegedly done
said.
for supply of drugs to some Roosters teammates when he was back at the Roosters, and also for betting. I think is the charge. Betting, which is basically where allegedly he was coming back from injury and he told his mates that he was coming back. So his mates bet on him as a try scorer, even though he was named outside of the team and then came in late. So that's allegedly what's gone on.
Did he score a try?
He didn't.
Oh.
So like his lawyer said there was no payout, so he's not guilty. And I
Oh,
was
that's
like,
not a great
well,
argument, I don't think. Yeah.
That's
Did
apparently
he-
that is enough of an argument.
Did he tell his mates to bet on him?
Yes.
Ah,
Yeah. I'm allegedly. Again,
allegedly, of course. That adds more.
he's told his mates to bet on him because he's coming back.
Well, that's not ideal.
But
Hey, mates, I'm coming back versus, hey, mates, bet on me. Like, that's
Yeah.
not a great...
Yeah, the lawyers said that like he's allowed to tell his friends if he's playing because he loves to play. You know, like that's
I
like
don't-
you're just talking about.
I
that
don't
in
disagree,
general.
yeah. But if you've the extra step of,
Bet on me.
hey, bet on me as a try scorer.
Yeah, but like,
And
aren't you trying to score?
the implications. Of
Is he trying to score
as
more
a,
because of
as
that?
a hooker?
Yeah.
Like that, if they get try hungry, you get greedy hooker.
Yeah.
Anywhere near that line, he's
Yeah.
gonna borrow.
Yeah.
Try scoring position.
So it's not ideal. I mean, like then, like I watch 360 to the death, and I know a lot about NRL, but there is heaps of talk about like some other things that may have happened in the past as well, where players have bet on this that shouldn't have bet on that, and I think it is a bit. It's something that is in the grey and in the shadows of NRL that no one likes to talk about because NRL players like they do bet on the game, but they're not meant to, in theory. Because then you could change, the strategy, or you could be like, I know our strategy for the team is to go to the right wing because that edge is weak, and we're going to make sure this guy scores. And then, hey, all my mates bet on this guy. You know, like that's the talk of what might be occurring more. And in this day and age, it probably does, but it's a bit. There's a bit going on in the NRL field at the moment.
That's a hard one. And like that's insider trading,
Yeah.
without a doubt. But part of that, you feel like many could pick up, like, is Alex Johnson going to score again this weekend? Probably,
Yeah,
like you
sure.
just, sure, you pick the edges and you could pick that with most teams.
Yeah.
It's the act of saying bet on this person.
Yeah.
That's
As
probably
an NRL
not,
player.
as an NRL player, that's probably
Yeah.
not ideal.
No, and because he wasn't in the team, his odds to be bet on would have been like 201.
Yeah.
So like, there's a lot of value there. And like just this week, the odds for Bulldogs and Storm on the Thursday night game. Bulldogs and Penrith on the Thursday night game. Penrith were obviously massive favourites, but and then the team got named and that went the other way because they rested 16 players. But funny enough, the bookies, it went the other way on Monday. And the team was named on Tuesday afternoon. So they're like, well, people have known because the talk again, allegedly, is the Penrith boys might have told people that they're all getting rested, and then everyone was betting on the Bulldogs because they were paying $2.80 or whatever, and now they're paying $1.08, and Penrith are paying $8 to win. So like, it's funny that this has also come up at the same time that the Cheese is in some strife. So because the bookies shouldn't know in advance from those team announcements. The only people that would know is the players. So whether or not there's enough money to swing the odds that quickly, maybe. But you need a lot of money to swing the odds that quickly.
Correct, because like I'm not a massive gambler, but normally the bookies are simply driven by demand.
I think they
aren't
can also
like
adjust their price.
sure, and they probably do to start with because that's how you
Yeah.
set them. But then it's money in
Should
to
be demand. Yep.
to push a price down. So you'd think it's financially driven.
The book, you know what they say about the bookies though, is that the bookies always know first.
Yes,
They've
but
got,
how?
They've got people everywhere.
Yeah.
They've got
They shouldn't,
tippers,
right?
people that get tipped off in all organisations.
Yeah.
So to see them actually get shafted here puts a little smile on my
Yeah. I agree, actually. Yeah.
And because, I mean, that's their industry. Like
That's
we're obsessed with a 5% deposit change.
Sure.
Like, if your sole industry is generating revenue
Yeah.
from NRL or other games, like, that's the, like, as much as,
But the
you know, we
5%
can.
deposit scheme is awesome, bro.
It is awesome, yeah. And we can have, like, personal views on, like I think gambling as a whole is terrible because it's an addictive aspect and it typically is targeted towards younger men, which, again, like, something that can drive them to gamble. And how often do we see it on bank statements? And it's almost always younger men who are gambling to
All the
the
time.
nth degree. And it's like $10 in, $20, and it's just this steamroll effect of how much, because it's too accessible.
Yeah. Too easy.
It's too easy these days, and we can see it on the different apps. And normally there's multiple apps, and yes, we do look at bank statements more often than most people would. So we see those habits, and like, it's sad to see how much goes into those.
Yep.
But I think it's not going out of the culture, like, and so it's always going to be a problem. Like, what's NRL going to do? Is there a stance? Do we just punish? Do we punish?
Who?
Yeah, who do we punish?
Yeah,
who's the first one to go? Like, this sounds like if this has caught the news and it's hanging around, then he's going to get punished for this. Like, the drug offence is still terrible. Like, it's not but he's not the first NRL player to have any sort of exposure to a negative effect of drug treatment, where he might get sat down, or like, is that going to end his time at his current club, the drug issue?
How does Ezra
think so.
Mann's case affect this?
Oh, Will,
We are
that's
not
controversial.
supposed to talk about this segment.
We're not supposed to talk about this one.
I think we're going to announce it. Like, this is a segment we're going to run from here on.
Oh,
And we're not supposed to talk about this.
perfect. And for those who couldn't see us, visually we were sort of adding to it.
There was a lot to it.
which was quite cool. So watch it on YouTube as well if you want to really see the
Of course.
the extra
Couple
added
good
too.
looking roosters too, mate.
Ezra Mann's an interesting one. Or where do we start? Like,
Yeah,
I think.
well, let's give the phrase of what happened, or allegedly.
can-
I don't know if it is allegedly.
Well, I
because
think it's
been done.
convicted,
He's been
so-
charged. So he was unlicensed driving under the influence of a Broncos provided ute, which is even more controversial, and went on the other side of the road, middle of the day, and crashed into an Uber that had a mum and a young girl who the young girl had a broken hip from that. So hips are never a good thing, especially when you're a kid. So she had to go through all sorts of surgeries and recoveries and physios and all sorts of stuff. And Ezra obviously got charged by the police, and the NRL stepped in too to suspend him. He got suspended for 8 weeks. 8 weeks.
Was it 10 or 8?
Thought it was 8.
8. Everyone's saying 8, and they both are far more knowledgeable than I am. So
8 weeks from the NRL, and I don't even remember his fine. Was it
$800.
$800? So
was it 8 weeks because it was $800?
like $100 a week?
Gave him
100
8 weeks.
Yeah, did they give him 8 weeks though because it was $800? Is there like a connection between
Like 8 and
It
8.
was like
Per-
$890 or something.
per
Yeah.
$100 charge is a week off?
Yeah.
So
And they actually gave him one of these on
yeah,
the way out of the courtroom as well.
right.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, Will slapped his hand, by the way, just for everyone playing at home.
It feels like the punishment should have been higher.
Yeah, I
from
mean, like-
standing back here, and the NRL punishment was higher. Like, that's a lot of time for someone to sit out.
It is.
in the NRL.
Is it long enough?
I don't. Yeah, it could have been the season ender.
Could have been. Should have been, probably.
But as a
Yeah.
Broncos fan, and he came back against the Dragons, which we did lose, Jeezy played well.
He did play well.
So
Yeah.
the Bronco in me is like, thank God he's back.
Yes.
But the human in me is like, maybe that doesn't fit. Does the punishment fit the crime?
I don't think it does. No, and I think what the NRL have done, unfortunately, have set a precedence for things like what the Cheese has done. Or, I mean, I know it's very different, but when now people make mistakes as NRL players, like, that's pretty bad for you to drive unlicensed, middle of the day, in a club-provided car, which, again, why the hell is the club providing him a car if he's unlicensed? And then to, like, you know, almost take someone's life from going across the wrong side of the road and a kid get hurt.
On drugs.
On drugs, yes. 8 weeks, $800 to an NRL player. I don't know how much Ezra's on, but he would be at least on 600-700 grand a year.
90 grand.
Nice.
By
Yeah.
the government.
Up the Bronx.
Up the Bronx, what do they do with that 90 grand, you reckon?
Just give it back to him in third-party deals and a car. And
Tom.
no, I'm just kidding.
Asterisk galore here. Hopefully it goes to some. I'm sure the Broncos have a nice fund. As one of the only profitable NRL teams,
Yeah.
surely there's some positive impact.
Well,
impact.
I'm
on the
sure
back
that mum and daughter are looked after as they should be. Yeah, and some.
Like
Because
free tickets to an NRL game or
yeah,
something,
like,
you think?
but like not the best tickets. Just behind the goalpost.
Oh, no.
Yeah, those good tickets cost a bit of money.
So where do they go from here? So that's where do you rate that?
Well, I rate that way worse than what the Cheese has done. Yeah.
Sorry.
I think the betting thing is very, like, it could be really bad or it could just go away in a day. You know, like, end of the day, they can't prove that he has verbally said to someone, hey, do this. You know, they can't prove that. So I think that might disappear. And as I said, I do think that happens more than we think, that players give
But maybe, is this not an opportunity to stamp it out, though?
Yeah, no,
Like, let's get him.
at stamping stuff out.
Let's get him to show everyone. If people continue to do this,
Yeah.
there'll be 4 weeks, 8
Yeah.
weeks. They'll be expect to be sat out for this period of time.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not take
could
a
it be
stance?
8 weeks? Because Ezra got 8 weeks. You know, like,
Well, I just thought those nice even numbers. It felt good.
4 or
Yeah,
8,
4 or
yeah.
8. I don't know why.
no, it feels good. Yeah, I think he should be stood out, but apparently he's not. Yeah, apparently he's playing. Like, there's a bye this week, but he's, by all accounts, he's playing the next game for South, which is
Right.
round 27.
One more game of the year.
One more game of the year.
And
Yep.
then see what happens for him to...
Yeah.
And then it'll
go
be
away.
to go away.
Off-season.
Next year, someone else will do something worse over the off-season and we'll all move
for
on.
sure.
So
more controversy. But like, I think one of the additional things as part of this case, which is not getting spoken about enough, but Victor Radley was named as one of the guys he supplied to. He's the only Roosters player that's been named in the Queensland Police report. And funny enough, like UPS have charged Brendan Smith, but he was actually in New South Wales at the time. So there's a lot of talk about jurisdiction because he supplied to people in Queensland. They got caught in Queensland. So again, allegedly. So Victor Radley, so Nick Politis, the owner of Roosters, came out at the start of the year and said how other NRL clubs handle anyone that's been exposed to drug or been caught for drugs is like basically abysmal. I'm paraphrasing here. This is not his quote exactly. He said, if anyone ever gets caught as a Roosters player with any sort of drugs, they are not at our club anymore. So Victor Radley's been charged now, in theory, or has been named as having some drugs from someone.
allegedly.
Allegedly. So I think all eyes of the intuitive NRL fan are on Nick Politis because he doesn't muck around. He sticks to his word. And I think that if he was to sack Victor Radley, like one of his main guys, I think that would set a precedence forever. And if he is being named to take part in this, then I think Nick Politis has to sack him, which is huge.
Massive.
Like, huge. Smith will probably just get a slap on the wrist and move on, and Victor Radley loses his career.
Radley loses his position. I mean, another club will sign him because you'd be mental not to.
Yep.
He's a sort of workhorse every club would love to have. So, but I don't know. Stand by your word.
Crazy
Do the right
stuff, man.
thing.
And like Politis is like he's been known to stand by his word.
He will. Yeah. So, man, maybe that's the off season will be new club finding season.
Yeah.
Victor Radley.
Mate, I think people like he might do better elsewhere. You know?
Yeah.
He might get more money because like, he might be
The opportunity might come through.
Yeah.
And they'll pick up a role. Oh, geez, a few clubs could do with that support. So
Sure. Yeah. So anyway, interesting rugby league. You know, I love it. We could talk about it forever, and I will talk about it forever. But we've got anything else to talk about today?
that's it, mate.
Easy. All right. Well, thanks, Devo. Off the desk. Here we are. Next episode, we're going to talk about some more cool shit. So get excited.
Cool stuff, if we don't mind. Thanks for listening. Peace out.
Cheers.